All right,
Folk,
I got it. I got
dope.
it. I got it.
I got
All right, you do it then.
it. I didn't have it. This is episode 59, and we have been to the Great American Outdoor Show, and it was lame. Dave, how did you like it?
Um, I feel like each year it gets weaker and weaker.
Definitely.
Um, it's a show that I don't feel like there's a lot of hunters there. It's just people passing time.
Yeah.
Um, some
Something to
booths
do
were
in
empty.
Harrisburg.
Yeah, some booths were empty.
Yeah.
I saw. And we started seeing the trend of um booths that have like the gutter people.
The
Yeah, we're start.
knives and the
Yeah,
flashlights.
I'm starting to see this more
Yep.
at this show, and it was never like that
No.
before.
Nope.
Usually like those smaller shows, you'll see like the gutter people and things like that. But this
Yeah.
show, I don't know what's. It's not a lot of hunters.
If I see bath fitter, I'm out.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of hunters. And like your brother-in-law, like we were in the archery hall, there was hardly anyone doing the shoots.
He was
The
disappointed.
Yeah, he was upset. And
There was only
hey,
one bow company that showed up.
yeah, only one bow company.
As far as I know, there was only one arrow company
Uh,
too.
I didn't see much. I mean,
Deer crossing arrows
we
was
only
there, I believe.
we only saw two food plot companies.
That's what I was going to transition into and say that today's episode we're going to talk about like
Yeah,
achieving your best clover plot, how to maintain it, and
yeah,
things of that nature. And we uh, did not see very much seed there at all. I think one
two.
was what, Amish company or
Yeah,
something. That
one was
guy
an
was
Amish company
consultant
that was.
slash seed.
Yeah, and then we saw our boy. We saw our boy Howie.
Howie was with back 40 seed there. Give
Yep.
him a shout out.
Um, Other than that, I mean, I mean, it's just something to do. I mean, we met up with a few guys. We
Yeah.
talked to Howie, and we talked to William from Ferminator, and
Hmm.
um, I mean, we just walked around, and that was pretty much it. But we talked about it before. Those types of shows are dying. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like it's hanging on by a thread, even though there's tons of people there.
I know. I don't know
I mean, we
why.
were we were shoulder to shoulder because I think it's just something to do. But
I
I did
think
talk.
the I think the problem is you have all this online stuff now that
Yeah,
you can just look through a catalog or get online and pick something out and just
right,
give them your credit card number and it comes to your door.
right. But I did talk to
Why
Mike.
drive to Harrisburg?
Yeah, I did talk to Mike from Domain, and they are severely working on a very large booth there for next year.
I'm
So,
I'm just afraid though that by the time they finally make it to the show, it's gonna be
well,
dead.
I
Dead, dead,
told
dead.
Mike, I said, Mike, if you guys set up with what you have to offer in a large booth, you will dominate in the food plot
In the
seed
food plot, yeah, if
world,
they have a big enough,
especially
especially if
if Mike puts me and you in the booth. I told
yeah,
him, I said, you better put us in there. So,
yep.
anyway, we'll see about that for next year. So, um, but let's jump into um, clover. Now, we did 2 podcasts ago. We talked about frost seeding clover, but now I did have some questions about that. Um, where people, I had a guy ask. He said, "Let me pull up the question real quick."
So
I
Dave,
wrote,
how often have you done this? I just saw this question.
yeah,
How often have you have you frost seeded and ran it over with a roller for seed to soil contact?
never, because that defeats the purpose of frost seeding.
I just had a question about that.
Hmm. Well, here's a question that it kind of inspired. I made a video about it, which comes out next week. But um, his name's Craig, but he says he's planting 3 acres of clover. In the future, he says, could you post a list of sprays and supplements, fertilizers, liquid fertilizers, etc., for maintaining clover and stuff? So that's kind of where this video is going to, or podcast is going to lean toward is okay, you frosted your clover, it's established, it's June. It's May, June. It's growing. You may have some weeds. Maybe you want to boost it up a little bit, um, and all that stuff. And we're gonna, chemicals, liquid fertilizers, and all that from A to Z on clover. How do you maintain that bad boy, and how do you boost it up to make it the best it can possibly be to feed your deer? How you like
Juice
that?
it up. Juice it up.
Feed your deer, your deer,
I got a lot of them. I got to
because
keep them
you
fed.
because you hunt in fenced in deer. You hunt fenced deer.
Yeah, right.
That's a rumor going around. I'm trying to start rumors.
Let's start rooming up.
All right, so I'll go. I'm going to start with this.
Start it up.
So let's start with, okay. It's May 20th. Turkey season's in full swing because I'm going by Pennsylvania. May 20th, our clover food plot on the old farm was bling by May 20th, and it was probably up about 8-10 inches tall. There was a bunch of grasses coming up. So what do you do? And
Always
we'll
a bunch
use
of grasses.
broadleaf weeds as well as an example. What do you do? Most of the time, by May 20th or so, in our areas, it could be flowered up a little bit, the clover. So what you're going to do is you're going to use a product called IMOX. IMOX is a grass and broadleaf weed herbicide. It's all in one mixture. You mix 7 to 9 ounces per acre in roughly 20 to 25 gallons of water. Now, there's going to be some smart aleck out there that says, "Oh, well, you got to calibrate your sprayer." Okay, I understand, but it doesn't matter how much water you use. You just need 7 to 9 ounces on that clover per acre. So you could put 7 to 9 ounces of this IMOX in 40 gallons of water, and you would just go back and forth. It's the same thing. Now, you could use your sprayer and say, okay, you could go 8 miles an hour. You have a 25-gallon tank, and you go all through your plot and you spray 1 acre. Okay, and you only use 15 gallons. Okay, you're using 15 gallons. Fill your sprayer with 15 gallons and mix it with 7 to 9 ounces of IMOX, whatever. But roughly, it's gonna be 20 to 25 gallons of water per acre. And you're gonna spray that with that mixture. It's safe for chicory. It's safe for clover, and you're gonna spray it. IMOX is slow processing. Like you're gonna see a
Yeah, you're
little
not gonna
yellow.
see it brown. Excuse
Yeah,
me, brown up
yeah. It's gonna
for
be
a
it's
while,
gonna
like
start turning
14 days.
yellow. Yeah, 12, 14,
Yeah,
depending on temperature. But you will see it, and you might have to wait 15, 20 days. But you're just gonna simply mow that, and that's gonna take care of all your uh, weeds and grasses,
hmm
and it prevents you from having to buy two separate chemicals
yep.
because people are, you would have to spray clethodim for your grasses, then you would have to spray 2,4-DB for your weeds and or your broadleaf weeds, that so you don't hurt your clover. So it's built into all one.
Let me interject something.
What do you got?
Don't let these people grow at 12, 16 inches tall before they start to spray. Spray
Yeah,
it.
not yeah.
Spray it while it's shorter. You get it. The
Hmm.
earlier you get it, the better kill you're gonna have.
Yes,
So
good
and
point.
don't do it right before it rains.
No, yeah, at least
Go ahead.
24 hours or something before it
Go
rained.
ahead. I just wanted to interject.
No,
Go
no, yeah, that's a good point. You want to hit them young,
ahead. Hmm.
easier to kill. So that's going to take care of your weeds. Now after that, you can probably just maintain that through the year with just mowing. I mean, how many times you sprayed last year? Once, and you just mowed it after that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I sprayed. I can't remember. I think mid June,
right.
something like that.
Yeah.
I actually mowed it first
Then sprayed.
because I didn't get it in time.
Hmm.
So I mowed it first and let
You
them
can do that
bounce
too.
back.
Yeah,
And when they started to bounce back, that's when I hit them.
that's a good time to do it too because they're actively growing.
Yes.
So you hit that herbicide on there. It really that was, since they're actively growing, it really sucks it in.
Yeah.
Um, so that's going to take care of your herbicide treatment. Now, if people don't want to use IMOX, you're going to have to use clethodim for your grasses, and you're going to have to use 2,4-DB. It's got to be D, otherwise you'll smoke your clover. Um, on those mixtures, I don't know because I don't use them, so you'll have to read the labels on them. IMOX, I know for sure, is 7 to 9 ounces per acre. Okay, so that's going to handle your
Mhm.
IMOX application for grasses and weeds. So that's going to take care of your maintenance part.
Yeah, I've
Um,
never actually used any other chemicals on my clover except for the IMOX or a low dose of glyphosate diluted,
yeah,
and it would kill the grass and it would curl your clover a little bit, but the clover
it
bounces
bounced back.
back.
Yeah, I actually last year I smoked clover. Like I tried to smoke it. A heavy dose of glyphosate and 2,4-D, and I just
Hmm.
said don't use 2,4-D, but I
Right.
I did it because I killed a portion of it because I wanted to plant something else.
Hmm.
I came back 2 weeks later and it was just barely wilting. Like clover is very resilient.
Resilient. Yeah.
You can rototill that whole thing, and you're going to get clover to come back. I
Right.
mean, it's once you plant it, it's very hard to get rid of.
Yeah. It's. I mean, it is. I mean, it's considered invasive. I mean, especially to people with turf and lawn.
Yeah.
You know, they try to kill clover so that they can have a
Hmm.
better grassy lawn.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, it is tough to kill
Yeah. So that
clovers.
takes care of that. So why don't you discuss already established plot, but you're going to go in when it's in say early spring. You're going to get that soil sample and talk about adding um, some granular fertilizer on top of your clover. This is going to give it a boost.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, don't skip your soil sample. Take your recommendations and run with it. Um, you wanna boost that stuff up, juice it up, as we like to say. But yeah, take the recommendation, roll with it. We like to sometime give it a little bit of liquid fertilizer now and then. Domain has one out. We've used some others in the past, and it's all good. But you want to use that stuff not in the heat of the day, either morning or evening. Preferably not when it's wet either. So try to do it in some cooler temperature. You don't want to use granular fertilizer in the morning, especially, or in the evening when the dew's on. You don't want to do that anytime near wet. You know, when your clover's wet at all,
Hmm.
because your granular fertilizer will burn the leaves of any foliage that you get it on if it's wet already. So
Well,
so do it
it's
when it's dry. Do it when it's
yep.
cool.
That's if nitrogen. If you're using say a starter fertilizer on it, those nitrogen beads stick to the leaf and it acts as like almost like a magnifying glass. Like it'll burn. Like you ever take a magnifying glass and burn holes and stuff? That's kind of how it does.
Yep. So those are the scenarios that you want to use, either dry or liquid. You know, like I said, don't you don't want to necessarily, like I said, the heat factor. I mean, and of course, this is hard for people in the South because the sun's blazing all the time. But they make sure it's not dew, make sure it's not frost or something. You know, make sure it's just not going to be wet, and then
Hmm.
use your granular fertilizer then, and you should be okay with that. But go by the recommendations. Just don't be going out there hitting it with.
Oh, 2020 or
Yeah, I mean, just don't even guess. Just
yeah.
get the soil sample. It's cheap.
Hmm.
I just bought my four, so I'm thinking tomorrow it's supposed to be in the 50s. So
Hmm.
I'm probably going to be going digging some holes and taking my
Yeah.
samples tomorrow.
Yeah. It's a good time to do it.
Yep, yep. So I'll be
Unfortunately, I
doing that.
can't do any soil samples right now because I'm in the process of getting a new farm. So,
Yeah,
but I will
come
shortly.
do mine. Come do mine.
Yeah, I'll come to yours. I'd just like to add to that what you said. That granular fertilizer. I like to add that right as the clover is coming out of dormancy.
Mm,
Um, Once it's coming out of dormancy in the spring, when you see it actively growing, hit it with the fertilizer when it's dry. And then what I like to do is I'll wait like a month, and then if there's some weeds or whatever, I'll I'll control them, mow it, or whatever. And then like a week later, I like to hit it with liquid fertilizer.
mm,
Now, like you said, we've used others in the past. Um, and but now we're using liquid courage from Domain.
Hmm.
That's what we're using. I used it last year. I sprayed all my brows, the plots, um, and I think we talked about this a little bit a few months back, um, because I was trying to get tissue samples
Mm.
because I wanted to test it before and after of spraying, and I screwed up with the sample. They sat, I think they sat in the bag too long, and by the time they got to the company, they were like brittle. I don't know. Um, but I'm gonna do that again this year. So I will. I'm gonna try it again this year. And everybody's like, oh, it doesn't really. I'm like, the companies. I had one guy say that all the companies paying you to do that. No,
See,
like,
I was just gonna make a comment about
yeah,
that. Like
I was spending my own money.
like we're saying, oh, we're gonna be using Domain. They're thinking we're pushing Domain on. 'Em. Go to Tractor Supply. They have liquid fertilizer.
Man,
And try that out.
hmm
I'm not pushing any exact brand. There's a brand out there called Jax. You can buy Jax in a 25-pound bag and you can dilute it in water, or
hmm
or use it as just granular. You can do either. I mean, there is some pretty cool stuff out there. You just have to take advantage of it and research it a little bit.
yeah,
But uh, obviously, yes, we're dealing with Domain. So we're going to use Domain's products. So that's why
yeah,
Dave's talking about it. But
yeah. But like
you know,
last year when I took soil samples, dude, I spent almost $200
hmm
of my own money
right.
trying to get samples because I
Well, it
wanted.
has to be your own money because they're not paying us.
I know, but I'm saying, like, I don't have to do that. I just want to do it for my own knowledge,
Right.
and I wanted to share it, but I screwed up. So
Now, if
I'm gonna,
Mike and Timmy want to pay us, that would be cool. Thanks, guys.
yeah, but
Send us a check.
right, but I'm getting the bags again this year, and
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of the name of the company. I can't remember the name of the company I use, but um, something like uh, I can't remember. But I'm doing it. I'm doing it again anyway this year. I'm gonna be testing clover, browse before and after, like that's I'm doing it all over again. So
Hmm.
that's what we're using, and that's what I'm going to be testing again this year. So liquid fertilizer, uh, whatever you use, it all pretty much it all works the same. So liquid fertilizer is instant.
It's instantly absorbed. I
It's
mean,
instant.
basically.
Yeah, it's instant juice. Like when you spray something, you're spraying it directly onto the leaf, and that
Mhm.
plant absorbs it. It's different when you're using granular fertilizer because granular, you're depending on the soil.
The moisture to break it down.
Well, but you're depending on that soil, all those chemical reactions in that soil that needs to take place for the roots to uptake those nutrients. You're relying on that. You're relying on moisture content. You're relying on pH. You're relying on CEC. Like
Well,
granular fertilizer.
not only that, but it has to. It's on top of the soil, and the
Yeah,
roots are below. So it
right,
has to get down into the root
right,
zone
and then come back up.
and come back up.
Yep.
Whereas liquid, and this is a great point that I'm trying to make here, guys. Like we said, it's instantaneous. It gets sucked in by the leaves and goes down and comes back up. I mean, but it's instantly used at the top level.
Yeah, it's instant. It's an
You know,
instant boost of nutrients to the plant.
yeah.
Um,
And that's why we take advantage of the liquid
I was trying to think of. I was going to use a scenario, and then you messed me up.
always.
Uh, granular fertilizer. I can't remember, but yeah. So the liquid is instant. Just be careful with it. I mean, you don't want to. It's not something you want to do like every week, and stuff like that. But it
Well,
is
and
an
you
ins.
also don't want to dose it like a garden hose.
Yeah.
You just want to
hmm
mist it on, and
Right.
just coverage. Don't spray it on wet like a garden hose
Right.
because you just
So
waste it. Waste the product.
yeah. Right. Exactly. If the plants are dripping, it's too much.
Yeah, and then
So
too, if it would happen to dry on there, the next time it gets moisture by dew or rain, it's just going to suck it in.
yeah. Yep.
So
Yeah. That's how liquid fertilizer uh, works now. domains, liquid curds, does have micronutrients in it, um, a little bit. So yeah, it's just a boost. Um, and the reason that now the question is, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to do a soil sample? Why do you want to add granular fertilizer? And why would you want to use liquid uh, fertilizer? And why? Why? The
I mean,
reason.
yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say clover will grow low pH, low fertilization. It will. You
Mhm.
can plant clover out there and you're gonna get something, and you might be happy with that. But why? Why be happy with the bottom of the barrel type of plot? Why not get to the optimum level that's going to be most preferred by the on passing deer? And if your stuff isn't optimum, they're going to go elsewhere.
Mhm.
You want the best stuff in your plot.
Yeah. Well,
You,
um, nothing nothing beats the foundation of a plant, which is your soil. Nothing beats that. Like you're not gonna. It's not like you could have, say, you got a 4.7 pH and you're trying to grow 30% protein out of clover,
yeah, you're not
and
going to get to 30%.
you just can't go and spray it with a liquid fertilizer and all of a sudden it's going to be 30% protein.
Right.
Is it going to help? Yeah, it's going to give it a little boost, but you need to start with the foundation of that, and that is proper soil health, pH, organic matter, fertility levels. And, oh, I know what I wanted to say earlier when you were talking about granular fertilizer, how it has to go down and uptake. Now, if we were talking a new planting, we would broadcast that granular fertilizer and then disc it in, because when you
Yeah,
disc that in, then it's at the roots level.
you want the fertilizer and the seed at the same level
Yeah.
when you're planting,
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the 30% protein level. You're not. No one's going to attain 30% if they're not dealing with optimal soil. To
Yeah.
just reiterate what you're saying, you know, if you're if you're not going to do your soil test and you're just going to guess and you're going to go out there and plant clover and you might get a good catch of clover and the bag said this is up to 30% protein and you're telling all your buddies I planted this clover, it's 30%. It's not going to be 30% protein because it's not magic.
Hmm.
You have to have the optimal range of all your NP and K and your micros, and your pH has to be up well to
Yeah. I mean,
be optimal to get to 30%.
I'm not a researcher or nothing like that. I just know that, like none of us know all the chemical reactions and micronutrients and organisms, and there's cofactors in soil that we don't know about, but all that stuff has to work together. Like if you're low on one thing, it throws other things off.
Hmm.
So everything's kind of got to be in balance
Yep.
to all work together. So it's scientific stuff, but you don't need to really be scientific about it. Like you just need to do a basic soil sample, fix the pH, add your fertilizer, and just be happy with it.
And
You know,
if you
you don't have.
don't understand that, you can
Yeah.
ask someone that does know, or
Yeah.
you can call your local co-op or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Like I get my tests through Penn State,
Hmm.
and I've actually called guys at Penn State before and said, "Hey, what's this about? This number look really out of whack here," and they explain it to you,
Hmm.
make you understand it.
Right.
So they send you a number right with it. So like they actually will pick up the phone and explain things to you.
Yeah. Right.
Don't be
Um.
afraid to ask.
Yeah. There is another option when you do a soil sample is you can ask for a micronutrient panel,
Hmm.
and they will add that to your soil. It's a little bit. It might cost you like 10 more bucks or something, but I
Yep.
used to do that at the old farm. Um, I would get them through, I think it was Waypoint,
Hmm.
and I would check off, micronutrients,
Hmm.
and they would send me my results back, and it would show you your copper, your zinc,
Oh
molybdenum,
boy.
um, iron, like all your micronutrients. It would show you all of that. And out of every soil sample that I have ever gathered, the micronutrients are always the lowest.
Mm.
There's very little micronutrients in soil these days. So that's always your limiting
Es-
factor.
Especially sulfur.
Yeah. Um, that's why I'm big on foliar feeding micronutrients because you can add them directly back to the plant. Now, you can increase them, with different in the soil. You can increase your micronutrients by uh, decomposing green manure and things like that. So, I mean, we're kind of got off topic with clover, but um, just realize that in order for that clover to give the most that it possibly can, you have to correct the soil. You have to give it. You it can't give something that's not there. So if
Mm.
you're asking for that clover to give you 25-30% protein, it can't do that if nothing's there. And a good example is that I have a video on my channel. It's called buckwheat. I think buckwheat is your bank account or your bank account. I can't remember, but your soil is your bank account. You're building the soil up, so you're throwing stuff into the soil to build it up. And if that bank account is empty, you can't get nothing out of it. And then what we're talking about is your clover. So that clover can't pull anything out of the bank account if it's not there. So hopefully that analogy makes sense. But
Mm.
um, that's how you have to look at all plants, all not just clover, but we're talking about clover because guys are frost eating and all that. So you have to look at it anything that you plant. Now, all of it costs money. Fertilizer is very expensive. Lime's not cheap, but I mean, food plotting in general is an expensive habit. Um,
Yeah, can be.
it can be depending how much you're planting, especially if you're just getting started. You got the initial costs and stuff, but it's fun. It's part of a habitat management program. Um, so it does cost money, but the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. That's my spiel.
That's his spiel, and he's sticking to it. So last year it seemed like every week we had a podcast. I was mowing.
I know.
Mine was it was so thick and headed out.
Hmm.
Flowers, I mean, flower heads, budded out, whatever you want to call it. I was mowing. It seemed like every week, but it wasn't. It was
Every time I message Chris, what are you doing?
what are you
He's
doing? I
like,
was mowing,
I'm mowing clover.
mowing
I'm
clothes.
like, you just did that 4 days ago.
It just was a beautiful catch of clover, and it was headed out all the time. And I like to take advantage of that mowing. Yes, you take off some tonnage, but that goes back into your seed bank, like we were saying. You know that's acts as manure, and it goes down and deteriorates and feeds. But two, you're spreading that seed from the flowering,
Hmm.
and I strategically there was a couple bald spots that I had here and there, and by mowing and blowing that seed into a certain direction, I actually patched that all up and
Yeah,
filled it in. You know,
that's Mother Nature's way of
yeah.
reseeding
So
itself. Now
it
we
was
probably
pretty
should
cool.
say we should probably say too that if it's in a drought, you shouldn't mow.
Yeah, don't want to mow in the
Yeah.
drought, and you
If you're
don't want to
getting
mow
rain,
any later than like
right,
September
right.
first week or second week, because you want all that tonnage for the deer, and it
Yeah,
won't
right,
recuperate enough
right.
to feed them. And then you definitely don't want to do anything into October, because
Yeah,
it's going to
and
start going dormant the other way.
right. Peak summer, it's 80, 90 degrees. You
Yeah,
got no rain. Don't mow. Just you'll
no,
don't mow. Just wait it out. Let it do its thing. And when you start getting some rain or something, then you can mow. But um, if
yeah.
you're getting rain, then by all means mow it. So
So what are you going to tell somebody that says, "I just mowed. Should I spray?
spray
Spray
fertilizer.
fertilizer."
If you just mow, then I would wait a few days until the plants become actively growing,
Hmm.
because that's when it's going to suck it in the most.
Same, same with herbicide stuff
Yeah,
too.
same thing. Same any kind of liquid.
Let it bounce back, and then start hitting it. Then
Yeah. Well, really granular too, because if you broadcast granular, a few days after mowing, the plants are actively growing, so they're going to uptake the nutrients. So it's same
Yep.
way either way. So
Yep.
that's our spiel.
What do you think? We beat that horse?
Yep. Hopefully
Okay.
hopefully answered everybody's questions about that. That's how to maintain it, get it going, boost it up, all that good stuff. So any questions, drop us a comment, let us know, and we'll continue on to podcast 60 next week.
That's a lot.
60 podcasts, 60 weeks in a row.
Crazy.
Yeah. So,
All right, guys.
yep. On to the
See
next
you.
one.
See you at 60.